Good morning, friends. One of the things I love about the Bible is just how consistent it is. And what I mean by that is that you can study one portion of the Bible, and then at some later time, you're in a completely different section of the Bible, and yet the teachings line up and are entirely consistent with each other. This is one reason why reference Bibles can be so very helpful, because there are little notes in those Bibles that take you to other places in the scriptures that deal with the exact same thing. In any case, let's follow one of those reference chains when it comes to the subject of anger. Because in Proverbs 15:18 we read, "A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger quiets contention." Like we saw yesterday, anger leads to evil, which is the essence of what this first statement is saying. A hot-tempered man, or an angry person, stirs up strife. They cause a ruckus, they hurt people through their anger, and they most certainly keep the pot stirred. But one who is slow to anger quiets contention. And notice that it doesn't say the one who is never angry. No, it says the one who is slow to anger, because we do know that there are times when anger is not sinful. But one of the hallmarks of the sinless anger, the righteous anger, is that it does not flare up at the slightest provocation. Righteous indignation, as it were, is a state of anger that comes after a long period of patience. And when a person has that sort of patient bearing to them, such that they are slow to anger, then they are able to bring peace rather than continuously stir things up. But then we consider Proverbs 14:29, which says, "Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly." So we have the same ideas in mind here, those who are slow to anger and those who are hot-tempered, but this passage expands on what we've already read. Because not only does the slow to anger person help bring peace, but that person is themselves described as having great understanding. They show wisdom in light of their patience. And that statement is reinforced because it's set in opposition to what the one with a hasty temper does, because that person exalts folly. The hot-tempered person not only is foolish, but they make it seem like that foolish course of action is the proper response. They want to convince themselves that they're doing right. So they lift up, they exalt, they act as if their foolishness is actually the proper standard to keep. But we see here that it's really the patient person who has the great understanding and wisdom on the situation. But then we go to a third passage, this one in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 9, where we read, "Be not quick in your spirit to become angry, for anger lodges in the heart of fools." Now, again, the subject matter is not new here. Very similar words are used even. We again have the contrast between being patient and being quick to anger. But whereas the Proverbs simply stated truisms, as in this statement is generally true, so understand it and make it an application to your lives the best way you're able to, well, this passage in Ecclesiastes comes with its own express command. Be not quick in your spirit to become angry. So the matter has gone from wise advice to a wise command. And that command does come with an explanation, for anger lodges in the hearts of fools. Now, again, this is a concept we're already familiar with from our first two passages. But again, this passage intensifies what we already know. Because what is implied in Proverbs is made explicit here in Ecclesiastes. The point? Don't be quick to anger, because if you are, that proves that you are a foolish person. Now that kind of slaps you in the face a bit, doesn't it? But that's what's going on throughout the scriptures when we look at the same topic as it comes up in various circumstances. Which helps us to understand the truth. In this case, the Proverbs lay out the wisdom of this topic in a more take time to consider this sort of way. But in Ecclesiastes, Solomon just wallops us. And sometimes we need the more gentle touch. Sometimes we need the smack upside the head. And sometimes we need the one that leads into the other. And so the bottom line is that in addition to yesterday's conclusion that sinful anger just doesn't do anyone any good at all, well, we recognize another truth here that goes hand in hand with that one, which is that sinful anger is a foolish proposition to begin with. It is foolish to be angry. There's no benefit to sinful anger, and it's foolish to engage in something that can only destroy you as well as those around you. And so the scriptures drill down to the very bedrock of the issue. Sure, we all get angry at times. It comes quite naturally to us. But let's change the perspective, because simply the fact that something happens naturally doesn't mean it's beneficial. This is a huge misconception that exists in our world today, that as long as it's natural or it comes naturally, then it must be good. No, anger comes naturally, but so do tornadoes and hurricanes, and none of those bring benefit. So harboring anger in your heart is as beneficial as inviting a tornado to land on your house and then careen through your neighborhood. So let's come to grips with just what anger is. It's destructive and it's foolish, and it brings no benefit to us whatsoever. So when we feel that anger rising in our hearts, pray in that very moment and ask the Lord to calm your heart and to recognize that vengeance is His, and to give you a spirit of patience and peace and mercy so that you can understand the situation with wisdom rather than defaulting to foolishness. With that in mind, I pray you have a good and godly day, and if the Lord wills, I'll see you soon.